beginner beekeeping. This time each month, at the start of the month, we dedicate almost an hour to asking questions for beginners. So if you've got beekeeping questions or flow hive questions, chime in, let us know what's on your mind. And while we're answering the questions, we're going to show you the flow frames harvesting. So we're going to harvest some honey from this flow hive, and we're also going to get down the front here and inspect a hive we inspected 2 weeks ago that didn't have a queen. So we're going to see whether the hive has made a new queen. So stay tuned for that. And we've got a couple of special guests today. We've got Lauren, who you may have saw last week, who's a beginner beekeeper. Last week was the first time she pulled frames out. She did very well.
Thank you.
And today she'll be learning a bit more and also asking questions. So if you've got questions, put it in the comments, and Trace, a familiar voice if you've ever called our customer support, will read those questions out, try to answer them. And we've also got Hussy, if you want to come and join us here, who's had a couple of Langstroth hives on the southeast of Melbourne, and now he's going to move up and help some hives in the local valley. So he'll be asking some questions from the point of view of being a Langstroth beekeeper. He hasn't seen the flow frames working, so we'll give you a demonstration now. So looking here, you can see that some of these are full with honey and some are empty. And that rear window view is a great view because you can even watch the bees deposit nectar with their tongues, which, especially if you get your macro on your phone and get up close, you can really see that activity. But these windows, along with the side window, give you a great idea of what's going on with the flowers and the bees and whether or if you should be harvesting. If you come around here, 2 weeks ago we harvested this frame, and you can have a look and see, can you see the nectar glistening down the cells there? And they've even started to put the capping on. So in the last 2 weeks, they've ripped off all the capping. Clever bees know when there's no honey beneath their feet. They recycle the wax, they complete the cells again, and start depositing their nectar. So that's a pretty good sign that there is plenty of flowers for the bees to go and get, plenty of nectar, and it's a good time to harvest some honey, make some space in the top box, and that's a good thing in a beehive to make sure the space for the queen to lay eggs down the bottom. If you don't harvest any honey and it's all really full, it could be all full downstairs where the queen needs to lay, and that could trigger the hive to swarm, or the queen simply can't lay enough eggs to keep the population up. So let's just grab this key here, and what we're going to do is taking this little cap out. Now if you turn that, see, into 90 degrees, yeah, grab it downwards into 90, use the muscle, and what that'll do is it's grabbing cells like this and then moving every second part. So you can choose how much of the frame you harvest, but it's better to turn. So give it some muscle. That's it. Good. And it should put that 90 point. That's it there. Now let's just put a tube in. I almost got to do that. You've been doing it.
I don't want to waste any of the honey.
Been doing this for 11 years and I almost forgot the tube. You can see it coming down now, right? So if you put the key in that far, you'll be harvesting part of the frame, but if you put it in further, you'll be harvesting more of the frame. So you can choose as the beekeeper whether you harvest just a small amount of honey
the frame reaches from the
or
front
large.
to the back.
That's it.
And you can pick what section you want to.
Yeah, or generally I'd harvest the whole thing, but if you do it in segments, it's just simply easier to turn that key.
Oh, yeah.
Now this is the flow frame here, right? So this is our invention, if you haven't seen it. And my father and I spent a decade developing and improving and getting this ready to bring to market. You can see there that it's a partly formed hexagon matrix, and what's quite interesting is the parts don't actually meet, and that's for the bee's knees. If there happens to be bees down the cells, you don't want moving parts meeting each other.
Yes.
So for those that are just joining us on the live stream, beginner beekeeping Q&A day, so put your questions in the comments. We're just showing Hussey, who's been keeping bees in the Langstroth way for a long time, and now he's very interested in how this flow frame works.
So the cells are usually on the Langstroth are both sides of the wax foundation.
Oh, there they are, both sides there.
Yeah.
That side and...
So the depth of that cell, is that the same as a Langstroth, or is it deeper?
Well, it's deeper than your brood cells. Now in a Langstroth you can put fully formed plastic cells in the brood box,
Yes.
or in your super if you want to, but most people are just putting a foundation sheet which
Yes, they are, yeah.
then the bees draw out like this. Now because bees like to have deeper, larger cells when they're just for honey storage. So if they're just for honey storage, and I spent years measuring comb away from the brood nest to decide what size and what depth to make these cells. Because I don't really want the queen to lay in them. And some people manage just fine with no excluder between the boxes. But we still recommend it because you do get queens that will lay in the cells as well. Look at that honey.
Wow. Beautiful.
I'm going to taste that. It looks really good.
Yeah, I'll get in there too.
So your brood box is still here, and your harvesting box is here.
Yeah. You just speak up a little bit if people then can hear.
So if you wanted to check what's happening in your bottom box, can you just lift the top off and just have a look? Or?
Absolutely, and we'll do that for you shortly.
Okay.
We'll go down here where there's a hive we need to inspect because we aren't sure whether it's queen right, which is the term for there's a laying queen. Look at that honey, isn't it? A beautiful light golden. Let's see what happens if we harvest another one and see if we get a different coloured honey, which is one of the amazing benefits that people really love about the flow hive. You can put that tube in. Notice it's got a little tongue at the bottom and it goes into the slot there.
Is that it on the way?
That's it. Beautiful. And now, do you want to do the honours? You can harvest that in segments there and see if we can get another one going. You turn that to a 90, beautiful. Then you can come back 90 degrees and go in a bit further and repeat. Sometimes you can do it all in one go, but it just depends on the bees, their wax and their propolis and how strong it is, and whether or not you've got how really tough wax or not. Beautiful. You've got another light honey coming down, which I didn't expect. I was expecting some darker ones today.
It looks a lot darker than that one.
Do you remember last week or 2 weeks ago we were harvesting from this hive and it was really quite dark? So it just depends what bees were foraging on at the time when they were filling that frame.
Yeah, this one's filling up fast already.
Look at that, yeah, beautiful.
The number of steps that you've removed to do this is incredible. You have to scrape it, get rid of the top, the covering of the cell. Then you have to, well, we only had one hive, so we had to cut the wax out.
Yes, yeah.
Squash it up with something.
Yep.
Then sieve it through 2 sieves. Eventually you'll get there, but nothing like this.
Yeah.
How long does it take when you do it through that process?
Oh, it took you like a day by the time you from start to finish. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
So Hussey's just describing the old way, saying it took him a day from start to finish, and you take the frame, taking the full frames out. You're cutting the wax capping off with the hot knife.
Yes.
And
I'll just scrape it with a spoon and a fork. You do it holding the frame above a bucket.
Yes.
Let it all drip in.
Okay, and then we're putting it in a centrifuge?
No, that's no centrifuge. That's just hand. No centrifuge. No.
Yeah, okay, all by hand.
Crushing it up and letting it strain through some sieves.
Ah, crush and strain method, yes. Yeah, that can be fun once.
Yeah, it gets to the point where you're not looking forward to harvesting almost, you know.
Yes.
You've got to wash everything afterwards.
Yes, it's quite messy. I mean, if you really like that tactile, sticky thing in your hands, it's good for a while, but it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And
you have the whole family out doing it, so that side of it's good, you know. You have it all together and everyone's quite excited to do it.
Yes.
But year after year after year.
Yeah.
It's sort of always, you know.
It does, yes. I'm going to taste this other one, see if there's any difference between the two.
Ooh.
That one's got the privet in it, which flowered earlier this year.
They're really viscous as well. They're not as thick.
Mmm. Yeah, it comes out warm if you feel that, because it's a hot day and the bees keep the brood nest about at body temperature, or just below, and that warmth travels up through the hive, and that actually assists the harvesting process because it keeps the honey warm. Any questions coming in from the audience out there?
Yeah, Seeds, and welcome everyone. It's always nice having new people doing our Facebook Live with us. We've got someone in Alaska saying that it's currently minus 15 degrees.
Ouch.
Yeah. And just wondering about using a flow hive over there. They have a really short season.
Yes.
And they're wondering, would they need to requeen every year to keep their hive
Yes.
going, or any tips for overwintering Alaska?
Okay, we do have a Meet the Beekeeper, it's called, in Alaska, where my nephew went up there and filmed a harvesting process in Alaska. So we know the flow hive works well in Alaska. However, as you're starting to point out, the beekeeping season is very different to what we have here. Here we have a year-round, in this setup, harvest year-round. That's a little bit unusual in the world. That's because we are in the subtropics here, where there's flowers almost all year round. In Alaska, you're going to have a very short season, as you say, and that means everything flowers at once, because everything that is going to flower gets compressed into that short season. So that can get very exciting, and we hear people way up in the north there in Canada saying they can fill a whole box of honey in a single day, which is just seems outrageous to me. Fastest we see it here is in springtime, is a week. So your season will be very exciting. It will be a big boom when it happens, and you'll be harvesting in the warmer time, so your honey will still flow. As to overwintering, it's really quite different to even the northern parts of America, where because it does get so cold, people will often ship their brood nests, so this bottom box here full of bees, away for somebody to look after it for them during those cold months, and then they'll bring it back in the springtime, and they'll keep it in a slightly warmer environment. So that's what the beekeeper did that we were filming in Alaska, and you know, that's just so different to here, but it's fantastic that the people are enjoying the flow hive and harvesting in this way, in extreme colds and in extreme heat and so on.
If you wanted to get the most honey you could out of that really compressed season, like how many flow hives would you need to get as much honey as possible?
So generally beekeepers will try and limit it to, say, 100 hives in one area. And so it is something you can really scale up if you want to. You can get more and more hives each spring. You can split them and add more. But another thing that is different about the short season is it's typical to stack more boxes. Now, with a flow hive, you've got this advantage where you can keep harvesting honey, making space in the hive without having to go through the old process of taking the honey off, which sort of changes your mentality about how to go about harvesting, where you can store honey in jars on the shelf rather than boxes on the hive. So one flow hive super can work really hard for you if you just want to keep tapping it. And that way you might decide just 1 or 2 supers is enough for you. However, because of the old method where people are stacking boxes and batch harvesting at the end of the season, you get people in Canada stacking 5 or even 7 flow super boxes high, and that to us is like, wow, why would you do that? I mean, I suppose I should be selling more of these, but to me, I like to keep it simple, where you just got a single brood nest and a single super, and that works well for us here. But in other climates, people do tend to like to stack more boxes, but 7 seems extreme to me.
And would it still, and when you say it like that, would it be like 7 brood boxes to 1 super, or like a 1-to-1 kind of ratio?
No, usually they would run 2 brood boxes and then maybe 5 supers on top of that.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
a lot of honey stores. let us know what the season is like for you if you're in the extreme cold areas in North America, if you're up there in Canada, in those really short season, frighteningly cold winters.
Yeah, sorry.
So Lauren's actually from Florida and
California, actually. Yeah.
California.
Yeah. Big difference, big difference.
Close. I can show my naivety there with the US. But California actually has a similar season to us here, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty similar. I'd say the climate is a bit more temperate, like it's not as humid, but definitely warmer most of the year. Like winter, especially in Southern California, winters don't get that cold.
Yeah, okay. We have a lot of flow hive beekeepers in California. Look at that, while we've been talking, these jars are almost full. We're going to wander off and do some beekeeping. When we come back, hopefully they'll be right up here with a textbook, nice full jar.
Do you ever run the risk of having them overflow, or do they fill up pretty much to that amount of the jar?
Occasionally they do overflow because the bees will sometimes just extend those cells out a bit further and there'll be a lot more honey stores than you're expecting in one frame. So occasionally they will overflow. I'm looking at this going, it looks about right for us to walk away. I'd say they'll fill up to here while we're doing our beekeeping. I could be wrong. Let's run the gamble, go and do some beekeeping and come back and see if we've got a big sticky mess with honey flowing. Now, I'm going to cover up the jars. It's just good practice if you're going to walk away. Obviously, if there's a lot of bees that were hungry coming around and jumping in the jar, we would have covered it up earlier. But you can use some kitchen wrap, or in this case, I'm using the kind of wax, beeswax wrap that you use if you don't want to use plastic when you're wrapping your kids' sandwiches. So that's a honeybee wrap there, and I can just put that over the top of the jar. Peace of mind while we wander away.
Quick question. If you're starting off with a brand new super, never been used before, would you expect that all frames would fill up kind of at the same rate at the same time, or do they kind of go like 1 to 1 to 1?
So what happens is that the bees will start centrally and they'll fill the center first and they'll work their way out to the extremities of the hive. So that means if you are getting impatient and you're wondering what's going on, there's nothing happening, pull out one of the center ones